Hello, this is the Idiot Ninja and I'm here with a narration, an analysis of my set against MetalGro since Smogon Premier League Week 3. I'll start from presenting my preparation and my teams for the game. One thing I knew about two main things I knew about MetalGro. One, he brings standard. He doesn't bother with the gangers and mostly the victory bells and all of that fun stuff. Fun in quote marks, but yeah, he doesn't do that generally. He is much more of a just boring lead big six, big six, the big four was last, type of guy. He just runs the standard things. So I can afford stuff like only normal moves on Snorlax because he doesn't really go Gengar, doesn't threaten that type of thing. Another thing is his Lapras usage is really low, so I can afford sets like this on Chansey, Reflect, Ice Beam, T-Wave, Southworld. This thing only paralyzes Lapras and nothing else, so it's kind of messy, it's a bit of a risk, doesn't really touch him, but he doesn't run Lapras, so it's fine. My game plan going in was to just try and with this team and with both of these teams, they're very similar. They're Jinx, a mon that wants Chansey to be removed, and a mon that is good at exploding Chansey. Obviously they're slightly different, just so that I could keep him guessing about my sets and stuff. My last one, like if I show Jinx, Cloyster and something and then he discovers that it's Alakazam, if I go Jinx Cloyster again game 2, obviously he will have the suspicion that it's an Alakazam again at the very least. So obviously I want to keep it a bit different, just give him more chances to make bad reads or like keep him guessing on my last ones, not give him information. So obviously kept two very different teams on the surface, even though they play very similar most of the time. The first one, you want Alakazam. So essentially the idea is that Alakazam and Articuno, they're both bad against Psychics walled by stuff like you can see just those are DOUs. Alakazam gives trouble to both of them. Executor gives trouble to Alakazam, Cloyster gives trouble to Articuno, so they differ a bit in their matchups, but Slowbro gives trouble to both of them, Starmie gives trouble to both of them, Chansey obviously. So the idea is you want to sleep the leads, so that removes one of the Alakazam or Starmies on the opposing side. That's one of the things that answer Zam or Kuno gone. And then the other thing which you will have to take care of is exploding Chansey. Cloyster does this, Gengar does this. And once those two are gone, some teams already just don't have answers for Articuno, don't have answers for Alakazam. Some teams have another Psychic in the back, and those can be reasoned with. You can use your Boom and Snorlax for those, but yeah, that is the general idea. Alakazam, well, Cloyster is a weak matchup with Zapdos, so you pair it with the Alakazam that is a weak Snorlax against, well, it's a weak Snorlax. I can't speak. It's a weak matchup against Snorlax because obviously even despite Reflect, you still take a lot, you're forced to waste turns clicking it, yeah, it's not huge, it's not massive having Alakazam against Snorlax, let's say that. So having Cloyster in general is nicer. Also because your opponent will just keep the Snorlax fresh for late game. He has less incentives to go Snorlax if you have a Cloyster which will just kind of absorb its pressure. Which means he will stay late game for a 1v1 against Alakazam, which is good because Alakazam wins that via Reflect. So yeah, that's kind of the idea. Articuno on the other hand, you run Gengar with it because Cloyster, if you ran Cloyster you would be way too Zapdos weak. If you ran Alakazam with Gengar would be way too red and weak. It's just basically small things, balancing out the matchups of Alakazam and Articuno with different explosion mounts, while keeping the essentials, the Jinx and the 3 normals. Those are not non-negotiable with these builds, really. So yeah, not much else to explain with the builds, I think. Ice Beam Chansey I've explained, well, not Ice Beam Reflect Chansey I've explained, Self-Destruct I've explained, Rest on Chloe because you don't want to be overrun by normals. With Jinx, you invite normals a lot, you want your Cloyster to last a bit. Yeah, here Chansey doesn't have Reflect in this team for Starmie matchup, because Alakazam can at least side drop the Starmie and do something else. But Chansey, well, Articuno cannot. Articuno just has to run from Starmie, so you want something more solid against it, and T-Ball Chansey does that. So now that we're gone over the builds, we can go to the games. Game 1, Jinx against Starmie. Ignore this nonsense. Get some minor chip on the Jinx. Kill it off because with both of these builds, Jinx has to be an important defensive piece of the puzzle as well. Despite generally being very frail, you have to keep it as an answer to Executor, because the rest of the team just kind of loses to it. So Jinx is important to have healthy, so I rest it up, just don't risk any nonsense. Then I scout the Chansey set and rest again immediately after, just to see what move he has. He has Seismic Toss, which means my Ice Beam Chansey is free to come in. On paper, if he doesn't have Sync, he does have Sync, which means, well, it would have meant danger if he hit it here, but even still, seeing Seismic Toss means Snorlax is good against it, so it's not a tragedy per se. So I dodge the Sync. I stay another turn to Ice Beam because I predict he won't Sync again, because obviously I would go with Jinx to absorb it. Right? No, because I predicted. Huh. I got a free Ice Beam. It doesn't freeze, so it doesn't matter in the end. Just kind of take the free Ice Beam where you see it. No one sinks there. He sends Tauros on Jinx. This is going a bit too fast. I need to explain things. He sends Tauros on the sleeping Jinx. That is one of the problems with leading Jinx. He just invites Tauros while she's sleeping. But I have a Cloyster for these reasons. So he gets crit, which is not nice, but what can you do? Blizzard hits the Chansey. You clamp here, because what is Chansey going to do? She Thunder Wave or she Seismic Tosses, you heal, you just rest up, it's not the worst. Or you even thread an explosion, even better. You thread an explosion and make a run, or trade for her, which is just fine. If she sinks, that's abysmal odds to hit it through 75% of clamp. So I'm free to clamp. Keep clamping, I miss. He clamps, he misses, but I want to threaten a T-Wave. He hits clamp, so it's fine. Again, I kinda just wait around hoping for a miss. Doesn't come at the right time. So now I can go Jinx. That is one of the weaknesses of partial trapping moves. Sleeping Mons burn sleep turns while you're clamping them. So I would have been immobile here with my Jinx, but it's not really a problem if you're already sleeping. So you get to burn sleep turns. Again, Sync Chansey, so I can't exactly switch this Jinx out yet. I try to fish for a few Psychics. Fish for a free Zir because I would have to rest immediately the turn after. This is a really easy rest to predict, but he wants to heal instead of switching out to Tauros, which is fine, it's respectable. I switch out to Chansey at this point because I've seen the Cloyster, and if I keep playing the trying to get my Jinx slept game, I'm just going to get another Tauros switch in, and I'm going to get my Cloister smacked. It's already taken a lot of damage, it's not a Toro switcher anymore, so that's not a game I can play anymore. I can't try to get my chances, my Jinx left. Or, well, I can, but I would be risking a lot. So instead I just sacrifice my Chansey. Why do I sacrifice my Chansey? Because his Chansey is now answered by Snorlax, his Cloister is answered by Jinx. It's not a big deal. My Chansey can go to sleep relatively risk-free. It's obviously not optimal, but he's running a Chansey with 3 moves now, so that's also not optimal. Who cares? I get to go Snorlax, I get to start firing off Body Slams. Body Slam has 24 PP, Soft Boiled has 16, so he can do this until I full paralyze. Wasting Soft Boils on Chansey is good for me because I have an Alakazam in the back. So if that kept going for a bit longer, that would have been nice and appreciated, but my leg expired early, so not anymore, I guess. Body Slam again as the Lax comes in. I reflect here, and because I want to scout this Lax set really before going Cloister, just in case he has like Hyper Beam or something silly. But he shows Amnesia, which means my Cloister for the time being can be a spawn for it, because neither Ice Beam nor Body Slam really threaten it, and I can clamp him down slowly but surely because he's lower than me. So if he stays in, I just clamp him. He might be able to rest on a miss, but it wouldn't be a big deal really. So I keep clamping. As the second clamp comes in, he understands that it's not advantageous for him to continue. I keep clamping here because the Cloister, his Cloister, like, he was always going to switch out there. I don't even have powerful switch-ins on Chansey, like I could go Snorlax I suppose. Maybe that was a good turn to go Snorlax. But anyway, there's like no downside to using Clamp really. As long as Clamp hits, you're not losing anything, and even if Clamp misses, you get another shot to throw it. So yeah, who cares. Here I take some Cloister on Snorlax trade chip. This was probably a misplay honestly, but I was expecting him to clamp, or like I was expecting him to, like, even if this happens I'm fine. It's not optimal because my Snorlax is now at 50 instead of 80 and I only did 20 to them, which isn't massive, but the sooner I bring Cloister into Tauros range, the happier I am, because this Cloister is always going to run away from Alakazam, it's never going to face it. So it doesn't really matter for the Alakazam if it's at high alpha or not, but it does matter for the Tauros if the Cloister is chipped. So chip there, I don't mind it. It was a bit of a risk though, because if I full paralyzed, that was just giving away 30% for no reason. But I just wanted to cover possible Tauros switchbacks on Jinx, because Jinx was my go-to clamp switch-in. But no, he clamps again. I go Jinx, take 10, no problem. I wake up on Tauros, and this is a complex turn. Wait, show this turn again. This is a very complex turn, because if he Hyper Beams on a Cloister, that's bad for him, because I can explode it and take massive damage on Tauros. If he goes Body Slam on Jinx, that is again bad for him, because he takes Tauros chip again from Blizzard, he takes like 50, that's very bad. If he Body Slams on Cloister and he gets it right, sure, but then he doesn't really want to Hyper Beam, because if he Hyper Beams and I go Rhydon, suppose that I have Rhydon unrevealed, that's not too unlikely that I have a Rhydon unrevealed, because right now my team loses as fuck to Zapdos. Cloister invites Zapdos a lot, so it's not unlikely that I have a Rhydon. So even if he Body Slams on Cloister, then he would have to Hyper Beam it. But that's very risky, because if I have a Rhydon coming in, I absorb it, I deal 40 back with an Earthquake, I am very happy. So, in general, especially after you revealed Starmie Cloister, if I had a Rhydon I would be happy to trade it for Tauros HP, so like, I am very, very happy with this play of going Cloister, because it was just... Despite Tauros being incredibly threatening there and potentially taking a kill, he can never be safe against this cloister play, unless he crits it again, in which case I can just whine about him being a locker or something. I can just whine about RBY being shit, all that kind of stuff. Cloister and Chansey, here my cloister is at 50%, and we just saw that it's not exactly reliable against a Tauros, because if he attacked there I would be in a very poor shape. If he crits me, I'm in very poor shape. Keeping this cloister around is playing with fire a bit. Playing with Tauros is never too safe. 20% that he body slams on it and my game ends because he crits, so yeah. I want to explode this, and that's what I do now. Despite it being a good check for Snorlax, I just risk too much if I don't start making pieces fall on his end. I go Tauros to revenge kill the cloister, obviously. He, instead of letting it die, he goes Executor, which is fine. It's a fine play, but you risk exactly that, fucking around against the Tauros. You risk a crit, or a paralyze, or both. So I definitely got lucky. I'm not going to pass it off as a bad play on MetalGro's side. It was a fine play and I got lucky. Sometimes it works out for him, sometimes it doesn't. But he takes huge chip and is forced to explode immediately, because if he doesn't, Tauros he risks losing Executor for free as I stay in with Tauros and attack. So he doesn't want to risk that. He explodes it. That's a fine play. Jinx goes down. That's okay. I don't need Jinx healthy to answer Cloister anymore, because I have Tauros now that threatens it at 20%. Here, he can go, if he goes Tauros or Snorlax or Cloister on my lax, that's very bad for me, that's terrible. So I am very, I don't want to send lax, even if it would be excellent on Chansey. It just so happens to be that Chansey is his best answer to me going Tauros. So this was a tough mind game. I didn't want to risk it though, because even if he gets it right with Chansey here, Chansey doesn't put much pressure on Snorlax. So even if I get it wrong here with Tauros, I can always just switch, kind of force him to switch back for another mind game, that type of deal. Because Snorlax, as we said earlier, Snorlax on a Chansey without Reflect, without Ice Beam, without anything is just happy to be there. So I go Tauros, he goes Chansey, and here, as I just explained, my obvious play is going Snorlax and trying to rest it. My opponent does not want that to happen. My opponent wants to heal up his Cloister as well, because that would be very nice to have a healthy Cloister for my late game. So I cannot allow that to happen, so I body slam. This was an incredibly risky play, because if it's Thunder Waves turn 53, my game ends. But I kind of had to do it. Well, I didn't have to do it, but I really thought like the Cloister switch would have put him in such a good spot that it might as well have been a loss if he went Cloister on Snorlax. Even if it would have taken slightly longer than the hard T-Wave on Tauros. So, I am happy to risk that body slam, because I am in a bit of a tough spot, but I get it right, thankfully, and Cloister dies. So, despite my game plan of exploding Chansey not working out, and my matchup of a team that wants to explode Chansey against a Chansey that is seeing, so he's a bit more happy to let it go than usual, because after she gets the thing off, she's definitely more easy to sacrifice than normal Chanseys, right? So my game plan to explode on it didn't work, and even if it did, it wouldn't have been great. So like, this is a very tough spot for me, but thanks to that play I'm still in it. Now I can go on Snorlax, Seismic Toss. I would have Thunder Waved there, because if you get the Seismic Toss, what do you achieve? I'm still probably just resting Snorlax as soon as possible. I don't know. T-Wave covered a possible stay-in more. Like, if I Body Slam as he Seismic Tosses, and then I Hyper Beam it, he's kinda dead. Really don't know about that, but now our good friend Reflect MetalGro from earlier, the one we didn't have to worry about because we had a cloister, he's back, and now we don't have a cloister anymore. So I burned a sleep turn here, despite giving him set of turns with it, because if he goes, well, when this Snorlax dies, Tauros just wins. He just body slams, hyper beams Snorlax, and my Snorlax dies. He has turns to do that if I don't burn a sleep turn, essentially. If I burn a sleep turn now, my Snorlax wakes in time to reflect, and then rest, and then cycle him out, and then kind of beat everything that's left if he burns a sleep turn here. So it's very bad in the short term. It's definitely worse than instantly going Zam. But I kind of wanted to burn it just because for the later game it was a much better spot. In retrospect, this was probably a misplay because I wouldn't have needed Snorlax to face Tauros if I just went Zam this turn 56. But what can I say? Everyone makes mistakes. This was probably one of them. So at this point I know that he's amnesiaing, so I go Tauros instead. Try to get a crit, don't get the crit, but I force a rest, which means he's not amnesiaing anymore, which means Alakazam gets some better chances here, even also because he is higher base speed, so higher crit chance. So Alakazam here is my answer. I still don't know his attack, could be Body Slam, could be Ice Beam. I have to reflect, because if Body Slam paralyzes and I don't reflect, I lose. He amnesias again, which obviously is just going to amnesia up as much as he can. I keep trying for crits. I don't get many, if any. I don't get any at all. He Ice Beams, which at this point, thanks to these two drops, Ice Beam is not a 2-hit, which is good, very good for me. So he Ice Beams again, and here, this is a spot where you have to recover here, and I'll explain why. If you just Psychic, you have odds to kill this Snorlax with the Psychic, odds to kill it with a Tauros crit coming in, and that's it. That's 2 attacks you get before you're basically dead. If you recover, you heal for over the damage of Ice Beam. So you force him to Amnesia. Here he goes, Amnesia. You risk a bunch of freezes, but he doesn't go for it, so not even. Amnesia here still doesn't do 68 at +6, so I get one Psychic and then another Psychic, and then a Tauros chance. So essentially I get an extra odds, an extra chance to crit him, so that's kind of what happens. I go for a Psychic, he crits the Ice Beam, which wouldn't have killed anyway, but he does 30% less, but it's not a massive deal, obviously not nice for him, but since I crit this Psychic, ends up not mattering. This was a very tough spot. This Snorlax was in a decent spot to clean up, but thankfully I had both Alakazam and Tauros, which were able to fish for crits, so it wasn't too bad. It was kind of bad, it was very bad, but the game had ended up going down in a way that allowed me to manage it. So got kind of lucky. I had an earlier chance with a Tauros Body Slam, I had this chance with a Psychic. I don't know the exact maths here, I think it was pretty 50-50. So I got a bit lucky to get up with it there. Ghost chance again, perfect opportunity to go Snorlax, wake it up. This is kind of a free end game. His Seismic Toss is here, I don't understand his sequencing here. It's fine to T-Wave it, it's fine to... But like here I would Seismic Toss until this fully parries, because otherwise he ends up Seismic Tossing, or I would Soft Boil, sorry, until Snorlax fully parries, because he ends up Seismic Tossing and then switching without healing, which means his chance is now Tauros food, absolute Tauros food, doesn't even get an odds at beating him with like paralysis. I don't know why he didn't heal it first, so that he would have a better chance at answering Tauros, but he didn't, so suppose that's fine. He body slam crits me, which is not nice, but at this point I can just go with my Tauros, pop it with a body slam, and then everything is in hyper beam range. So just keep hyper beaming, everything dies. Woohoo. Not much to say, just classic Tauros business. Let me get a sip of water and then we'll continue with game 2. Whoops, muted the desktop audio instead of the microphone. Go me. There we go, much better. Game 2. Again, Jinx, Gengar, Articuno this time. Love the keys to sleep the Zam, fish for the Blizzard, you always do that. Again, keep the Jinx relatively safe with the Paralyze. Send Chansey if Fish Ice Beam freezes. The Narration Zam was never staying in, because you just risk a Tauros coming in and messing up your whole team. So I was free to Ice Beam again this turn, fish a bit. He revealed Seismic Toss Chansey earlier, which made me think Reflect, but he reveals Ice Beam now, which means it's not Reflect, it's Seismic Toss plus Ice Beam. It's a weird set, but I know MetalGro has liked it. He's used it many times against me, so it's not too surprising. But at this point, he can't T-Wave Chansey because then he gives me a very sturdy sleep block. Jinx is not very sturdy, but Chansey is. So he doesn't want to T-Wave me because otherwise he basically blocks his own opportunity to sleep something on my side. But I can't T-Wave him because I already did the sleeping, so this is a free Thunder Wave for me, and he cannot match it due to Jinx already having done her job. So I don't even need to engage in this freeze war, I can play it a bit safer and go Snorlax here, or not, because okay, this is a very good play. This play I like a lot, going back to Jinx. This is obviously a turn where I go Snorlax, so it Thunder Waves. he had to play Thunder Wave or Ice Beam there, and he did neither. So, well, Jinx is weak to neither, he did one of them. Stop. My brain keeps making the words flow out too fast, I need to slow down. Yeah, he could Thunder Wave or he could Ice Beam. Thunder Wave covers a Snorlax switch, and Ice Beam covers everything because if he gets a free, it's both Snorlax and Chansey are good. Jinx was good against both of these options, and what Jinx does here is, one, if I get lucky and side drop Chansey and she full paras enough, I get to see if there's a Starmie in the back, and that's very good information for my Articuno. If she doesn't, the Snorlax comes in to pressure a sleeping Jinx. Yeah, here I rest, the Snorlax comes in, but I have Gengar, so that's all according to plan. Gengar comes in, it T-bolts. Well, this is something I don't get. As we're going to see very shortly, this Snorlax is Reflect Ice Beam. Yeah, I don't have to worry about Earthquake, because with a Chansey that is not Reflect, Snorlax is always Reflect, pretty much always. Some people run teams without Reflects, but they're very rare. So with no Reflects on Chansey, this is very likely to be a Reflect on Snorlax, which means it's very unlikely to have a Q, because with Body Slam, Reflect, Rest, you have a lot of last moves, and DQ is not exactly your priority when you can run like Ice Beam or other very good moves. So I'm not really worried here about getting Earthquaked. It's a very low chance that he has it, so I just T-bolt, and he Reflects. I don't know why he does this, because he's Ice Beam and he's never ever winning this. Like here, if I get a crit, that's a dead Snorlax for 15% of damage. That's never worth it. Gengar cannot rest cycle against, or Snorlax cannot rest cycle against Gengar, because Gengar has a high enough crit rate that 2 T-bolt crits will happen eventually, but I don't know, he goes for it. He gets his Snorlax chipped. If he just switched out Snorlax as soon as he body slammed, he wouldn't have revealed his last move. He wouldn't have gotten this much chip on it. But no, instead he just took damage on it. I don't know. That was a bit of a bad play from him, but I'm not complaining. I will just T-Bolt until he sends Chansey. And now, on his side, obviously I am never, ever exploding this Gengar. Why would I? This Gengar is perfect. It walls his Snorlax forever. It's amazing, right? This is a free Ice Beam for him, or a free, yeah, not a Thunder Wave because he still wants to land asleep sometime soon. But this is a free Ice Beam, right? No, it's not. I explode it immediately. Why do I do that? Well, because I have an Articuno at the back, so despite this Gengar being super good against Snorlax and everything, my Articuno is also super good against Snorlax, so I don't need it. And my Articuno really wants this Chansey out of the way, so that's this play explained, and that's, well, I feel like it's kind of intuitive, but just anyone who knows RBY and sees my full team would understand that, but yeah, that is just such an easy way to lure people into letting their Chansey get exploded, because they will even be happy with that outcome until they see the Articuno. Like, if you said, do you trade this Gengar for this Chansey? Some people will say yes, because this Gengar walls the Snorlax eternally. Not my teammate, just in the actual sense of the word. Yeah, this Snorlax is walled forever, and if you explode the Gengar, now the Snorlax is not walled forever anymore. Like, that's amazing for them. You can use the Snorlax now. So some people will take that trade, but obviously we know better. We know that we have the Articuno. We are happy with that explosion, and then Tauros comes in to claim. These 2 turns, him sacrificing the Chansey and him going Executor, kind of revealed to me that there is no Starmie in the back. Because Starmie would have been either happy to come in on Tauros, because then you can save the Chansey for her late game, heal it up on a Sleeping Jinx maybe, that type of deal. The fact that he didn't go to it means he doesn't have anything that is happy to switch in on Tauros in the back. Well, not that things that are happy to switch in on Tauros exist, but like, he had no good Tauros matchups in the back. And again, confirmed again when he goes Executor here. Executor is just not really good here, because I can go Jinx, he takes the sleep, I am okay with it. My Jinx has done its job, she's left and took sleep, that's all she needs to do. And then he explodes Executor on Chansey. I'm not really sure what he was expecting here, but this is a bit of an odd play, because Executor still had a lot of health. Executor was still like a good, valuable tool to have, and his Snorlax was free to answer this Chansey now. I'm not really sure why he played it like this, but he did, so we're happy. Now Articuno is absolutely free to go in, because obviously Tweet KOs Snorlax, Tweet KOs Tauros. If this is a Rhydon, which is not likely because Rhydon Alakazam is a bit rare, but if it is a Rhydon, obviously Articuno demolishes it. If it's a Zapdos, Articuno trades a Tweet KO, but he wouldn't send Zapdos anyway, because he just exploded his Executor. So if I have a Rhydon here instead of an Articuno, that is the end of the game for him. That's just over. He cannot win if he has Zapdos against Rhydon here. So he is, and especially he doesn't want to send Zapdos and risk having Zapdos on Rhydon now. So like, Zapdos is very unlikely to come in all in all. Snorlax was probably the most likely, Snorlax or Tauros. Articuno absolutely smacks both, so I go Articuno, and Ice Beam Tweet KOs, or KOs with a single crit, but no, nothing of that happens, and he paralyzes with a Body Slam instead. Now, that turn he was, well, he doesn't have explosion obviously, so like I don't have to fear anything like that. We saw his moveset on the Gengar, so we know what he has. He got a paralyze on the Articuno, which is all nice and good, but now he's resting, and on rest I can go Tauros, which is like absolutely free. He doesn't have time to reflect or anything. He probably was trying to rest cycle on Articuno full Paras, which was a good idea given his tough spot, but I called that out. I go Tauros. Tauros can nail this because he has to sleep for 2 turns, and Tauros does a lot of damage while he sleeps. This Alakazam has slept 0 turns, and if I go Articuno here and Agility as he stays asleep, I basically win the game. Like, it's absolutely filthy. Articuno tanks a Tauros Hyper Beam, Articuno tanks a Zapdos Thunderbolt, Articuno Tweet KOs everything on his field. Articuno is just absolute danger if he gets an agility off here, and there's only a 1 in 7 chance of Alakazam, or 1 in 6, I don't remember exactly how many is the max turns, but yeah, he has, no, I think it's 1 in 7, I'm pretty sure it's 1 in 7 chance of him waking up, but alas, he gets it, he wakes up. I have to switch out. We have a full health Snorlax, so that's good because I can now answer this like a Zam. I really would have kept the Zam healthy if I was MetalGro here, just because Zam is such a good man against Articuno. Like, it's much better than anything else he has, but instead of keeping his only Articuno answer, he sacrifices it like that. I don't know what the thought process was, don't ask me, ask MetalGro's. His Lex wakes up. I think I tried to boom here, or maybe not. I think I tried to reflect because I'm not favored obviously because he has Ice Beam and I don't, but if I can get him to rest even with a reflect up, then I can Articuno break it. Like, it's a very safe play for me to reflect up and force his rest. But doesn't happen because I full para a couple times, well, no, only once, and then he switches out. I think here I was clicking Body Slam, but I am not sure of what I was clicking on this full para. If I had clicked Rest, this was kind of good for him, because Zapdos, just on damage rolls, he 3-hits Snorlax about 20% of the time, and if he creates, obviously he also 3-hits Snorlax, so if he had this on Rest, it would have been excellent. Unfortunately for him, I don't rest. I don't remember if I had even clicked it or if this full para failed me, but yeah, now that he T-bolts, I can explode, take down the Zapdos, and now Articuno is absolutely free to win because he takes 2 hits from Snorlax. He does like a disastrous amount of Tauros, so I can just agility. Here I'm still not in danger of being KO'd because he doesn't have Hyper Beam or anything. We know his full set, it's Body Slam, Ice Beam. Articuno tanks a Body Slam, obviously tanks an Ice Beam. He could have tried to rest cycle, but against a 41% that was very dangerous. So like I got afraid, but Snorlax staying in wouldn't have done anything threatening. That's a main roll on the Ice Beam, whatever. It's frozen. Actually, I'm not sure if it's a main roll or if I just clicked it for the accuracy. I don't remember. Whatever. Here, Blizzard gets his Tauros in Hyper Beam range. Ice Beam doesn't. So I click Blizzard. In retrospect, it was probably just to get. It was probably better to get any chip on him at all, and then Body Slam into Hyper Beam. But I ended up going for this play instead. I ended up going for Blizzard and then Hyper Beam. Because Ice Beam, Body Slam, Hyper Beam giving more turns to crit me, and that was a scary thought, so I don't know. I generally don't go for the exact math, I just approximate. My approximation said Blizzard was a reasonable move. Probably was. Ice Beam might have been better though, I don't know for sure. yeah, that's how that game went. I hope you enjoyed this narration. I hope you enjoyed getting some insight onto my preparation for this series and my kind of game plan and thought processes. No, why did the song start just now with the outro? That's just anticlimactic. Yeah. Um, Thanks for watching. I might do more of this. Let me know if there's any feedback. There probably is a lot of feedback because I talk very sloppily. English is not my main language, obviously. Um, so if I need to slow down, please say so in the comments. Let me know because I will try to do that. I just didn't want to sit here for 3 hours, and I'm sure neither did you. But if the understandability of the video suffers, then definitely do tell me. Thanks for watching.